Hello, good morning dear students. So today I am going to explain you, today I am going to explain you first chapter, the theoretical questions, what are the questions that may come from this chapter, that is object oriented programming, in short we say OOP, object oriented programming. So out here the very important question is this: difference between procedural and object oriented programming language. So what is the difference between procedural programming language and object oriented programming language? So let's see the difference. So the first column is procedural. We can say procedural programming or procedural oriented programming. It's same only. And another is object oriented programming. So the difference is, in procedural the importance is given on functions. The more importance, the more stress is given on function rather than data. Whereas in object oriented programming the more stress, is given on data. Here more stress is given on function, here more stress is given on on data. The first point. The second point is that here the data move freely. There is no any boundary. There is no any rules and regulation. There is no any foundation of data. They move here and there. Means there is no concept of security out here. The data flows freely throughout the program. Whereas in object oriented the data is restricted. How it is restricted? We generally use public, private, isn't it? So there is a restriction. So the data is restricted. Here the data move freely. And the third point is, we don't have access specifier, means we don't have the concept of public, private, protected in procedural, whereas in object oriented we have the concept of access specifier, that is public, private, protected. There are three types of access specifier. One is known as public, another is known as private, and the third one is known as what? Protected. And the fourth point is, this procedural follows which concept? It follows top to bottom, from up to down. From up down, it goes from top to bottom programming approach, whereas object oriented is just the opposite. This object oriented programming follows which method? It follows bottom up approach. This is top down, this is bottom up. And one more point you can add out here is the example of procedural programming language. So in procedural programming language, the programs comes BASIC, COBOL, Pascal, Fortran. They are the programming languages, as well as C comes under procedural programming language. Whereas in object oriented we can consider C++, Java. Lots of programming are there. So they are known as object oriented programming language, and C, BASIC, COBOL, they are known as procedural programming language. So the 2 marks question comes generally from this, right? So here it's given. So what are the different object oriented programming languages? That is C++, Java, Smalltalk, Simula 67, FL, etc. These are the programming languages that comes under object oriented programming language, right?